The HLTV team rankings, alongside the recently implemented VRS ranking, has historically been a pretty good indicator of how good a team is compared to the rest of the scene. Occasionally, teams will make a Cinderella run or have some other circumstance that leads to a much higher or lower ranking than they necessarily deserve, but most of the time, there aren't many arguments against why a team is ranked where they are. While this is still technically true today, if you browse the HLTV rankings currently, something might feel a little off. The team towards the top might not actually feel like top teams in the current space. Why is that? For most of 2026 so far, Vitality have claimed their spot on top of HLTV's team rankings and continue to show dominance throughout the entire CS scene. After a record breaking 2025, they've showed no signs of slowing down anytime soon, much to the dismay of anyone who isn't a Vitality fan. This begs the question, though, where are the other teams? Who could possibly challenge Vitality's spot at the top? A few names might immediately come to mind upon hearing that question, but when you really think about it, the reality becomes even more bleak for teams that don't have Zywoo. This is one of the ways that the rankings can feel deceiving. Generally, a ranking would indicate the likelihood of a team to win an upcoming tournament. First is first most likely, second is second, and so on. However, even though this may be technically true in current Counter Strike, it's not nearly as true practically speaking. The gap between Vitality and everyone else is so massive. Number 2 feels closer to number 4 or 5, and the story gets even worse for the lower ranked teams. In fact, if I had to put my life savings on who would win the next tournament and my options were Vitality or every single other team in the world right now, I might honestly lean Vitality. The problem with the scene right now is that it's not just Vitality's greatness that makes the scene feel so shaky. Part of it is how these other teams play versus each other as well. For the most part, you could count on teams like Maus or Furia to make playoffs, maybe even a final here and there, and the teams below them can at least hold their weight in matchups against the top three. I emphasize for the most part. Take the Falcons and Paravision matchup, for example. Many would regard Falcons as the highest firepower roster in Counter Strike right now on paper, or at the very least top three. Paravision are somewhat the polar opposite, taking risk on complete rookies under the leadership of a major winning AWPer in IGL, Jame. Paravision's results have at times been polar opposites of one another as well, taking a trophy, a final, and a semi-final finish, accompanied by two group stage exits. Falcons, however, have been pretty elite recently, except for the fact that they consistently lose to Paravision. They lose to Paravision in such a unique and predictably disappointing way that I actually stopped writing this portion of the script until after their quarterfinal matchup this last Friday, which I correctly predicted they would lose. Contrary to these weirdly inconsistent results, I would personally put Falcons and Paravision as two of only four teams I see as capable of beating Vitality currently. The gigantic glaring problem with that statement is it feels like Paravision and Falcons, as well as Furia and Spirit, who are the other two I think could take on Vitality on a good day, seemingly can lose to almost anyone given the right circumstances. Falcons are more consistent, but still have a loss against Navi, Maus, and three in a row versus Paravision. Granted, Navi and Maus aren't bum teams, and one of the Paravision losses was with a stand in, but given the roster, you would certainly expect Falcons to take the win over these teams. Even more egregious, in the group stage exits from Paravision, they would lose to world number 7 Navi, world number 17 Astralis, world number 32 Legacy, world number 28 Monty, and world number 18 Heroic. Maybe my logic is faulty, but if I believe that a team is one of four teams capable of beating the world number 1, that would make them a top 5 team. But the results don't show that. The results show that they can and will lose to teams outside the top 5, even teams outside of the top 15. It's not just Paravision either. Spirit recently lost a playoffs game against world number 12 Astralis, and a Mongols that simply has no business beating this Spirit roster, regardless of what their rank says they actually are. Furia have lost games to Astralis, 3D Max, Bait, Foot, all teams outside of the top 5. These teams have shown time and time again that they are a cut above and elite when it comes down to it, but have also shown time and time again that they can seemingly lose games where they are so heavily favored you wouldn't think twice about taking them to win. The entire scene feels like a big game of rock, paper, scissors among the top teams, but with the catch that an underdog team can randomly decide to draw a gun and win the series completely unexpectedly. By complete contrast, Vitality are rock solid and only lose to the absolute best, almost always. The last time Vitality lost to a team outside of the top 5 was a best of 1 at Budapest against FaZe Clan. a legendary org practically synonymous with heating up at majors. And prior to that, you have to go all the way back to October, where they lost a best of three versus Gentlemates. Vitality have played near to their ceiling for over a year with only the slightest dips at the tail end of 2025, while every single other team feels entirely a step below them in both ceiling and floor. Even taking into consideration the loss versus Gentlemates, since and including that game, Vitality are 77 map wins to 23 map losses. To go back to the rock, paper, scissors analogy, they play the game too, but they always throw nuclear bomb no matter what. So, to repose the question at hand, the title of the video, who can stand up to Vitality? As of right now, in order, I would take Falcons, Na'Vi, Paravision, Furia, Spirit. I don't believe anyone else in the world has a chance of taking a grand final against this team, and I'd be shocked if any of them actually do. Donk has to carry too hard. Fury have been lacking in playoffs lately. Paravision have consistency issues. Navi lacks firepower, and Falcons has a coin flip chance to blow Vitality out of the server or get blown out. Falcons is the best option to take Vitality in a grand final, but they're so inconsistent, I just couldn't see it happening, at least not regularly. As of recording, I would be surprised if anyone other than Vitality takes the Cologne Major, short of some absolutely out of this world roster moves in the next, what, month? Anyways, those are my thoughts on the scene at the moment. If you enjoy this type of content, leave a like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you want to see more of, what type of topics you want me to cover, if you want me to go more towards the present of professional Counter-Strike or do more historical analysis, compare what's going on right now with what's been going on in the past. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching.